Hey guys, Kevin again with MixCoach. Last night, or yesterday all day, I was tracking in a studio called Beech Studios. Pretty much what I do several days a week, actually tracking music and making music. And at the end of a long day, I couldn't help but think about you guys, and I thought, you know, I wonder if you would like to kind of see a behind the scenes look at what I do. So after everybody had gone, I got Aaron, which you'll see later in the video. I can't pronounce his last name. And I talked to him about, he actually set up a lot of the microphones, and they have a great boutique mic collection and mic preamp collection, and I thought you might want to see it. So I sat down and interviewed those guys, so check out the video. And by the way, if you want to see more things like this and hang out with guys like Aaron and Mike on my forum, check out MixCoachMember.com, and there's a lot of information there. But for now, enjoy the video, and I'll see you after a while. Hey guys, it's Kevin with MixCoach. I just wanted to fill you in on a little bit of what I've been doing today. I've been tracking at a studio called Beech Studios. It's in Brentwood, and it's probably one of the best equipped studios that I've ever worked in, honestly. And I happen to have Aaron, who is the studio manager, and Mike, who is the owner. And they said they would talk to me about some of the gear and stuff, but I wanted to just tell you a little bit. We tracked today 4 musicians. It was Dave Cleveland on guitar, and I got a little bit of footage of that. Hopefully it's rolling now. And we got Craig Nelson on bass. He played electric bass and acoustic bass. And then we had John Hammond on the drums, and we had Jeff Stice on piano. So anyway, this is, I'm not kidding you, this is a gear. This is like going to gear heaven here. So I was going to show you a little bit and get Aaron and Mike to tell you a little bit about the studio, so that when you go to track, maybe you can come to Beech Creek and track here, because you will not find a better studio anywhere. So anyway, I'm going to turn the camera around. This is Aaron. Say your last name, Aaron.
Cieslakowski.
Cieslakowski. I was close.
You still didn't say it right, actually, but that's okay.
I thought I said the same thing you just said.
I know you did, but you didn't. But that's okay.
Well, anyway, hey, tell me a little bit about this gear here. First of all, I can say that Aaron pretty much set up everything. So I'd like to take credit for, you know, picking all the right mics and stuff like that. But Aaron really had everything to do with that. So why don't you kind of just run down what you plugged me into today?
Okay. Well. Do we want to talk about microphones as well?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about. I've already shown some video of the microphones, so okay. Why don't you just say what it was, and then hopefully I'll.
Okay, all right. So let's just talk about the signal chain on the kick inside the kick drum. We had AKG D112. On the outside of the kick drum, we had a vintage Neumann U87i that was modified by Tracy Corby from Corby Audio Technologies. And on the also on the outside of the kick, we had a handmade by me NS10 subwoofer hooked up to a Countryman DI.
Which, by the way, if I can mention, that's I've used sub kicks before. I mean, even the ones that Yamaha put out, and yes, that's the best sounding one I've ever.
This is what everybody says.
Yes,
and I don't know what I did to make it so great. But
well, first of all, it doesn't have a box around it, so
that might have something to do with it.
Could, yeah.
And then on the top of the snare, a good old SM57. On the underside of the snare, a AKG 414 EB. On the hi-hat, a vintage Neumann KM84i. Let's see. On the toms, we had Sennheiser MD 421s, and over the drums, on overheads, we had another vintage microphone, AKG C24. And then we had 2 sets of room microphones. We had a pair of Royer 122s, which is a phantom powered version of the 121s. And we had a pair of vintage RCA 44 ribbon mics as well. So all of the drum microphones went through API 3124 mic pre's. I should say 312 pre's in the 3124 rack, except for our top snare mic, the 57, went through Dayking 52270H, if you remember that revision. Then we had the Royer rooms going through a newer Neve product, the 1073 DPD, and we had the RCA ribbons going through two Shadow Hills mono gammas set to the nickel transformer.
That one has the several transformers, like in
well, two transformers, a nickel and steel input transformer you can select from, or you can select discrete path, which has no input transformer. So different different ways to color the signal path without equalization. Just choosing a either of those two transformers or no transformer at all. What else should we talk about?
Let's see. The piano. Let's talk about these Gordon mic pre's real quick.
Oh, okay, sure. So on the piano today, we had a pair of Mic Shop 47s, and basically Bill Bradley has rebuilt. It's almost like having a vintage U47 from Neumann, only in a new chassis and with a new power supply and a new cable. They sound that great. And today those microphones went through a pair of Gordon Audio M5 mic pre's. Now, Grant Carpenter, the builder of the Gordon Audio mic pre's, lives in the Nashville area here, and has actually been to the studio before. The Gordon Audio pre's fall in that category of kind of not really flavoring the sound that you're hearing. You are. It's almost like standing right next to the instrument. The first time we got these mic pre's in here, and I used them when I stood in the room next to, I think it was a baritone sax, I think, that I recorded the first time, and I set up the microphone, plugged it into a Gordon Audio pre, and when I walked into the control room and armed the track, it sounded like the saxophone player had followed me in here and was standing right next to me. It has, and so basically, he's built these pre's to, to not color the sound, to sound as true as possible. And part of that equation was not putting in any extra crap, pardon the term, into the pre. So there's no input or output transformers. There are no other components that don't need to be there. There's no shielding. The input impedance ranks up around I think 1 million ohms. It's
which means that it doesn't color the mic by capacitance.
Right. Exactly. And all I can say is, if you haven't heard it, you need to try it, because there's a very few products, preamps like this that I've heard before. And we actually had some of the Millennia products in the studio before, and a lot of people favor those for their clean sound. And I'm telling you, these things blow that out of the water.
Yeah. Millennia's are a little fragile too, aren't they? You hear about those things kind of.
Well, yes. There's I think maybe a lack of headroom, you might be able to say, and that you do not have that problem with the Gordon Audio pre's.
Now, these right here, what we were just looking at, that is not actually the preamp, is it?
No, that's correct. Yeah, this is actually a DC voltage controller that we can have in the studio. And Grant, the designer, was clever enough that we can use a XLR cable and therefore the patch bay to connect the controller to the preamp that actually sits out on the studio floor. So the length of cable running between the microphone and the preamp is as short as possible. So that reduces the noise floor yet again. In addition to that, when we're throwing the switch here, it's detented, and each indentation is actually throwing a relay inside the preamp that is changing the signal path to a new signal path. So let me explain that a little better. So if we wanted 10 decibels of gain, we set this to 10, and a relay is thrown, and the signal from the microphone is going through a 10 decibel gain stage. If we switch it to 15, it does not go through that 10 decibel gain stage and another gain stage. It switches to a 15 decibel gain stage. So the beauty of that is, unlike most preamp designs, instead of the signal from the microphone coming in and going through a say a 100 decibel gain stage and then having a potentiometer as resistance in the signal path to attenuate that.
Right.
So you're going through a gain stage only to put this load on it that doesn't need to be there. Grant's design allows you to specifically have the exact amount of gain in your signal path that you need and no more.
It's a really clean sounding mic pre. I think we used it on piano and acoustic
guitar
right?
today. That's correct.
And we had a vintage KM54.
KM54
on
yes,
the
sir.
acoustic.
Yep.
And we opted to go mono. Although we had two of them in there, we wanted to go mono.
That is correct.
So. Well, cool. And Mike, this is Mike. He is the owner of Beech Creek Studios. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this? The studio is like the best piano, some of the best. I'm going to flip it around and show these guitars here. Yeah. We've got guitars galore, and they're sitting all over the place, but the piano is like very noteworthy because where did you find that piano?
That's a long story, but basically I found it because I didn't know what I was doing. And long story short, a lady in Hiawassee, Georgia had the piano. She was a professional piano teacher, but she had just retired. They were going to move to a smaller house, and through a fluke of typing it in incorrectly and doing a search on the internet, we found that particular one that turned out to be one of the better pianos.
It really is.
It's not because I was an expert on pianos. It's just because God gave it to us, I guess.
God favor, yeah.
Yeah.
That's as good as anything. Well, so I guess for the guys watching here, if they want to book your studio, what's the best way for them to contact you to book the studio?
Aaron takes care of all the bookings, and that way we don't double book the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And his number is 615-473-5543.
Okay.
But just a brief history of the studio. My wife and I produce Christian music for kids, and we had recorded some here at the house before in our theater, but we decided to build a place that our boys could use because they were both going to Belmont, getting involved in music, and wanted to learn how to make records. So we started to build just a basic studio, and by the time we got through, we wound up with this. But we engaged the services of Dino Elefante, who's a industry veteran and used to own the Sound Kitchen. And the studio was designed by Chris Huston, a legendary producer and engineer, worked with Led Zeppelin and The Who and numerous other people. And they knew what they were doing on the acoustic side and the structural side, and my wife and I were very involved. And for those of you who are sort of new to all this gear stuff, you can take heart because there is hope for you. 5 or 6 years ago, I would have had a hard time explaining to you the difference between a condenser mic and a dynamic mic. But once we decided to do this, we decided to educate ourselves on it. We did a lot of research on the internet, read a lot, interviewed a number of engineers that I'd known for a long time, and asked them what they were looking for in a studio. And when I found that virtually everybody I talked to said you're going to need an 1176 and an LA2A, well, those were the two first compressors we bought. But a lot of our gear was purchased based on the recommendation of engineers. And then when we started designing the studio, we ask engineers what they like and what they don't like about studios, and we tried to incorporate features that they like. And all of the structure in here and the layout was designed to be ergonomic for the engineer so that they can see what they're doing, so that they can reach the controls reasonably well, and to have the gear that people are familiar with and can use. We've got some specialty items that are sort of boutique items, but most of it is stuff that if you're an engineer in Nashville, you know how to work it. And that way you don't have to come here and start from the ground floor. You can get to work pretty quickly.
Right. Well, the cool thing I found is that Aaron, everything is already set up. Sounds great when you walk in. There's it's not a home studio by any stretch. It's a commercial studio that happens to be in your home. So I hope that some of the guys watching this will give you a call, and well, this place is pretty booked up.
Yeah, but you know, the only way to book it is to call. So
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll get to work loading out. My files are copied now. So, hey, thank you guys for watching, and hope this was informative to you. Give Mike a call to book the studio at
473
615-473
5543.
5543. Talk to Aaron Cieslakowski. What's his last name?
Aaron Cieslakowski.
Cieslakowski.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.
Right.
Cool guys, don't you think? Aaron Cieslakowski, I still can't pronounce his name, and Mike Gay. Hopefully, if you have some needs to go and record, you'll give those guys a call. They're really, really cool guys. And like I said in the beginning of the video, if you like hanging out with guys like Aaron, who know their stuff about gear, and you want to involve yourself in a community like MixCoach member, check out MixCoachmember.com. I think you'll really like it. There's a lot of good tutorials. There's a downloadable song every month that we can mix through, and there's guys like Aaron on the forum. So check it out, MixCoachmember.com, and I'll see you on the next video. Okay, bye.